now.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Commercial's ready.
Yeah, commercial's ready and we are live.
Oh, we're live. Hello, everyone.
I was like, we are live, and he's creating his own. Hey, you asked him. We told him to sing.
We did.
We did tell him to sing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are 60 seconds out, but I know that most folks who are joining us are coming from maybe a lunch hour or something like that. So we don't want to take up a whole lot of time. I'm going to double check here to make sure everything's looking good. Yes, good. Okay. Housekeeping things, as we always like to start out with. Welcome to those of you who are tuning in, whether you're on the live webinar or if you are watching us on Facebook. Just a reminder, we don't answer the comments on the Facebook live streaming during our session. Please make sure that you go to envisioncu.com/webinars for the Zoom link to go live with us through the actual workshop webinar. You can submit questions through the Q&A here live, or we'll answer your questions after we conclude our webinar for today. Make sure that you go online to our MoneyWise page and explore the playlists and modules which we teach from. You are entered to win for every playlist that you complete. We do a drawing every month of a $100 gift card. I don't know about y'all, but I have a long list of honeydew things at home that I could use that $100 on. So
absolutely.
And Kelly,
we don't qualify.
The cool thing about the playlist that I think that a lot of our viewers don't realize is that it's not so time consuming. We're talking anywhere.
No, 5 minutes max.
Yeah, 3 to 5 minutes. And
Yep.
each playlist gets you an entry into the drawing. So while you're educating yourself on money management tools, you're also increasing your line of your pocket for $100. So it goes hand in hand. So I challenge everybody to take advantage of this opportunity. I wish I could.
That's right. And while you're clicking on the link to go to the webinar @/webinars on our website, you'll also see a list of all of the webinars that we are that we have in the lineup through the end of August. So we started with credit scores back in July. I'm sorry, the beginning of July. And then we did debt management last week, and we're doing budgeting today, as you can see. And next week, we will be talking about how to make budgets work. So sounds like very easy, common sense things, right? But I don't know about you guys, but budgeting has been something that I think I personally, but I know a lot of people struggle with because there's always unknowns that pop up, right? Sometimes there's it's time consuming. Some people think it's time consuming, but I think when you have the right tools, and when we use those tools, we realize it's not actually as time consuming, and it really is less stressful than when we don't. But if you have like an audacious financial goal, let's say that you want to get out of debt, or you want to free up money to start putting into a 401k or retirement fund. Let's say you want to put a kid in college, or you want to pay for your own college. Maybe you want to make a large purchase like an auto loan or a home mortgage, and you need to have money down. Budgeting and going back to the basics of budgeting is really the one foundation that can accomplish all of those things. Even if your goal is increasing your credit score, budgeting is a big part of that. Yeah. So, you would think we would start out with that, but all of these topics that we've talked about build on one another. So kind of think of all of these individual ones as building blocks, right? So, because we really do reference, and if you joined us last week, you'll hear a lot of some of the same things we'll talk about today in budgeting. Like we introduced the 50-30-20 rule to you last week. We're going to talk about that a little bit today as well. But shouldn't need a whole hour today. It is a little bit easier, but you never know. Sometimes when we get to yapping, we find ourselves having some really good conversation. So please be sure to use the Q&A if you are joining us here on the actual webinar. I'm going to check real quick just to make sure. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. Okay, good. So I'm going to keep this popped up. So do the Q&A. Last week we didn't have any questions at the end, but I'll be sure to check it and see if we have any during our session. Okay, so let's move along here. In this workshop today, we are going to talk about three major things. We're going to explore the importance of creating and maintaining a budget. I know it sounds very elementary, but some of us need to get back to the basics, right? Or again, if we have that goal, and looking at different ways to create and maintain a budget. Two, we're going to examine the differences between wants and needs. We all know what the wants and needs are, but I think sometimes we buy into untrue things, right? I really need to watch sports I need to have the sports package or whatever. And then three, set goals for spending, saving, and debt repayment. Pretty good agenda we have here. All right, so budgeting. What is a budget? A budget is an estimate of income and expenses for a specific period of time. That is, I think, the key. It is for a set period of time. It's also looked at as a roadmap, right? Or a financial plan. Why do we use them? It can help you understand your spending habits, create a savings plan, or pay off debts. Now, I'm going to say right here, there's probably a lot of people who are going to hop onto the Facebook Live for just like a couple minutes and be like, what are they talking about today? They're going to see that we're talking about budgets, and they're going to go budget, schmudget, and they're going to close the video.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to teach you anything that you don't already know. However, if you are someone who really, really, really wants to make a change or accomplish something that has really maybe been holding you back or weighing you down, or you've had a lot of hurdles on, I just encourage you, don't click the X button just quite yet, or come back and watch the video later when you can. Because I think the biggest part of accomplishing any of our financial goals is just like the first step towards just doing it, and accountability. And that's the hard part. I think people oftentimes don't want to be honest with themselves about where they're spending their money.
That's it, Kelly. That's one of the biggest challenges that I often see is the accountability piece. If they make the budget themselves, they don't have to hold themselves accountable, right? So they can, I can spend a little bit more here because nobody will know but who? But me, right? But if you hold yourself accountable and you're really being honest with yourself, that budget is the Bible, and you need to make sure that you're going by script. And I can tell you how big of a feat that can be at times whenever we're in consultation sessions is accountability.
Absolutely. So when can you use your budget? Budgets can be used regularly to help you maintain a good financial practice, or they can be used to help you achieve a specific goal, which we've already talked about. One thing I want to give you permission to do as we're talking about budgeting, one, I want you to keep an open mind. I want you to realize that some of the suggestions and some of the things that we are going to share with you it's not a one-all for everyone. I use this phrase a lot, that we don't like putting members in boxes. Okay, so every member has their own financial journey, just like any other part of your life. What you think about money, how you make decisions about spending, how you save. Everyone is super unique in the way that they think about money. So the one thing I also want to say is budgets can be changed. Like sometimes I think when most people teach about budget, they're like, you got to make a budget and you got to stick to it. Like, sure, we want you to stick to it, but we want you to also keep in mind that things are in flux right now in the whole world. So your budget, we understand that there are going to be things that are going to come up in your life that are unexpected, or you may choose a different path in a moment, and that's okay. Like you can choose that. Like give yourself permission. That doesn't mean just toss the whole budget out the door. Just try to make some adjustments to allow you to still take care of those things. Okay, so 5 easy steps that we're going to talk about today. Kelly, can you just kind of run through these 5 steps for us?
Sure. So the first one is to get organized. Get all your documents together, grab a shoebox, throw all your stuff together, pull your bank statements off the internet, pull your credit card statements off the internet. And if you don't get them in the mail, just gather all that stuff up. You don't have to do much with it now, but just get it and make sure that you don't forget about those little things that you pay out that you don't think about, like Netflix and things like that, your online subscriptions, all those little things. And then step 2 is your income. How much money you earned each month after taxes from your paycheck, Social Security, retirement, wherever your money comes in from, and we're going to use your after-tax numbers. And then you're going to list your expenses. You're going to take those things in step 1. You're going to take all those documents and you're going to list your expenses. So you're going to, how much you spend on each one.
Sorry, I don't know why I have random pop-up coming up on my screen. Carry on.
So you're going to list your expenses, how much you spend each month and on what. And little things like your electric bill and your things that might fluctuate a little bit, just put the average. You don't have to go and get the exact dollar amount on things like that because it's going to change. And then you're going to list your savings. That's step 4. So how much money is set aside for savings? If it's 0, then be honest with yourself and put down 0 because that's what we're going to work on.
Yes.
And then list your debt. How much money is owed to creditors? That's a very important one.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to try to slide a spreadsheet over here and y'all tell me if you can see it.
Yes.
Okay, so we introduced this to you last week. You can find this form on our counseling landing page, which I don't think we've talked about before publicly, but it is envisioncu.com/counsel, like COUNSEL, like a counselor.
Yes.
Okay, this is a page that a lot of folks often come to if they need some additional support in overcoming maybe a financial crisis.
Yes.
Or are facing a hardship, right? Something like that. So this is a fillable form that you can use to plug in some of the stuff that Kelly's mentioned. So it's a tool that we've created for you to use to help you, not feel like you have to come up with something on your own. Like it's easy, plug and play. Okay, so you can use this. It's a PDF, fillable PDF. And once you plug everything in, if you see these little bluish gray boxes, these are the parts that are fillable. And then it automatically, I have some formulas in here, so to automatically calculate as you plug things in. Okay, so let's just show you an example. Let's say that you make $2,000 a month, right? And I'm just going to use an example. Let's say that your mortgage or your rent is $875. Just throwing that in there as an example. So down here, you'll see total expenses for page 1 is $875 because that's the only one I've plugged in thus far. But then on the second page, we have it calculating what is your income minus your total expenses. And this shows you what your disposable income is. So after you've done all of these different areas, we've tried to help you think about everything that you regularly spend money on. We know that there's going to be one-offs, but there's a lot of things that people don't put in their budget and they wonder, where is all my money going? We're going to talk about that a little bit in our presentation here. So I just wanted to show you that real quick and let you know that we have a tool that's there to help you. All right, so here we're going to give you an example of a member. And it was so funny when I pulled this back up, I had forgotten that there was an example of someone named Marta, and one of my current Netflix obsessions has a character in it named Marta. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. So Marta is a 40-year-old woman who works 2 jobs, not an uncommon scenario these days to see folks have multiple jobs, one at a grocery store and another as a hostess at a restaurant. Marta often feels overwhelmed by her large debt. She has also paid bills late in the past. So this overwhelming feeling and this debt that she has kind of carrying around on her shoulders is a reason that her personal finances are not very organized. Let's see how the 5-step plan that Kelly just kind of ran through for us can help her better understand her options, right? And maybe some behavior changes that she could do. All right, so this is an example. These are examples of all the different things you have that, I don't know if you have a junk pile of mail. I think most people have a junk pile that, all their stuff is, I know that that's somewhere, right? Or maybe you have a filing cabinet.
And a junk drawer. And a junk
drawer. Yes. Or maybe 2.
Or 2, yes.
So yeah, so be careful keeping all that stuff laying around. But if you do get paper statements, maybe just start creating a simple, like go get a little file folder, right? Or a certain book and just stick it in there. And then when you're ready to kind of tackle this budget sheet, you've got it all there. But this is kind of, we're not necessarily going to go through this. You kind of all know what you would need and what you wouldn't need in regards to a budget. Obviously, you're not going to need credit card offers. We want you to shred those up. You know, you're not necessarily, you would need your social benefit statement. You would need your paycheck stubs, right? You don't need other junk mail and things like that. All right. So Marta's current spending, she makes $2,000 a month, right? Her total expenses are going to be her needs and her wants combined, the sum of both of those. Her disposable income is going to be her income minus her needs. The want is all of the big question mark, right? Because if I have my money left over, what am I going to spend it on? And what we have found is that a lot of people who do not live by a budget, or at least have some sort of idea of the organization of their budget or how they spend their money, they tend to want something, spend money on it, and then realize they don't have enough money for the needs. And that's why we find that people are stuck in positions. So this kind of gives you an idea of Marta's particular situation. So she's got about a little over 1,200 in needs. She spends about 210 in wants. That number is usually a lot higher for the average person. But for demonstration purposes, it's great. Debt, she's got about $300 in debt, and she's putting $100 in towards savings. That's encouraging to hear that she's got some money going into savings. The majority of folks who are in severe need, though, of a budget, or who in some kind of financial crisis, there is no savings being contributed right now to any sort of savings fund, whether it's you know, in a secondary account at your credit union or retirement. There is no money being put away. And so budgeting is going to also help you find money to start saving, because we want you to be able to say that you do have some savings. All right. So last week we introduced you to the 50-30-20 rule. Herschel, can you break that down for us real quick on our graph?
Yeah, sure. 50-30 rule is basically at least 20% of your income or savings is on debt repayment. That's the 20%. No more than 30% of your income is appropriated to your wants. No more than 50% of your income is on your needs. So 50-30-20. This is a common rule that's often offered in the financial community. And again, all of these rules won't apply to you. Everybody has a different situation. And I can tell you that this may need to be adjusted. But the 50-30 rule is pretty simple to follow. Again, it can be modified to fit your budget profile.
Yeah. So this is going to help you figure out, am I living within my means?
Absolutely.
Like, because again, I say this in a lot of our workshops. I know I sound like a broken record sometimes, but we find with a lot of folks that we're counseling that their 50% alone is going to one need. Like,
for sure. Mortgage, car.
Yeah. Mortgage
Yeah,
or car. Unless you're sleeping in that car and it has full plumbing available, like, come on.
Yeah.
So, you know, I know it's not easy to just pack up and move on to, you know, a new place to live, but you got to be honest with yourself that is a scenario, or that is a line item that is really affecting your ability to overcome and move forward with some of your financial goals. The categories method is a little more of a detailed breakdown of these percentages. So if you like what you're seeing right here, take a quick screenshot. Again, it's just a guide. It's not, we don't want you to be put in a box and be like, oh my gosh, if I'm spending more than 30% on housing, I'm a loser. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying, if you don't know where to start, these are what are recommended in the financial advising counseling world by professionals, by people like us and experts who work with members all the time. These are a good rule of thumb. So you can see the breakdown here, 30% for housing. So that means the rest of the 70% is on these other things, utilities and other housing expenses, 10% for groceries, 10% for transportation, including a car loan. Okay, so you can go back to your statements that Kelly mentioned, pull up your statement, plug it all in here to your spreadsheet, or just do simple calculation to find out what your percentage of your auto loan or percentage of your income is going to your auto loan, right? Or one particular service or product that you use. 10% for debt repayment. This is another big one. We've seen some people who their repayment alone is 50% of their income, if not more. If not more. So when we talk about, if you go back to some of the lessons that we've talked about, credit scores, debt repayment, there's a reason why we teach capacity is king. Okay, because when we talk about how much in debt you have versus like how much available you have to you versus how much your balances are, that is a huge indicator of your risk factor.
Yes,
when
ma'am.
when you're requesting to borrow money, right? So, you know, how much money you're paying back versus how much you're using on a regular basis. I mean, if you're spending 20% of what you're spending money on is coming from a credit card or a loan, and you're only repaying 10% of it back in minimum payments, well, there's a calculation problem right there.
Mhm.
Okay, so you got to look at what are you spending that credit on,
Right.
right? Okay, 10% for savings. Again, we've mentioned majority of people. I shouldn't say the majority of people. Majority of people we work with,
Right.
specifically. And I don't mean people who come in and do banking with us, but people who
Right.
are working on counseling and things like that don't have any money saved right now. We're trying to help you come up with, you know, some creative ways to find money to save. We don't want you to end up being past the age of 65 and not being able to retire, because that is what a lot of people are finding themselves in the situation, is that they're just living for today. They're just trying to get through this week or this month. And there's no way, there's so much smoke and fog in the way, we can't even see what the next decade or 2 decades is going to look like. Okay. Setting our goals. There's 3 major areas that we break up into goals. Okay. So short-term, medium, and long-term. Kelly, read these for us. What is considered a short-term, medium, or long-term goal in terms of years?
So short-term can be accomplished in a few months up to 2 years. So it really is a short-term, less than 24 months. Medium-term goals are accomplished between 2 and 5 years, and long-term goals are looking past the 5-year mark. So a long-term goal would be like the mortgage, or you're
right. And so for me, sometimes when I think of a short-term loan, I think of within a year, but that's because we're being unrealistic with ourselves. And
There you go. There you go.
Sometimes we say, yeah. So we say you didn't get in whatever situation you're in, whether it's good or bad, overnight, and you're probably not going to get out of that situation overnight. And so we have to be realistic with what is a short-term goal. Think about how many times you get paid in a year. Like, there's only 12 months in a year. If you get paid twice a month, that's only 24 payments, give or take, depending on how many, you know, how many, where the Friday falls or whatever. If you have a monthly income, you're only getting 12 deposits a year.
And you have to.
You have, like,
that's reality. It just kicked in. Say that one more time.
Right.
I think
so
reality
you're only
just kicked in.
getting 1 to 2 deposits a month. So that's 12 or 24 deposits. So you only have 24 deposits of income to actually work with. So you've got to give yourself permission and time to let that calendar flip and make some decisions as long-term as 2 years sounds to some of you guys. Because again, we're Americanized. Okay. We want it now. What's that girl from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Veruca, is that her name? I want it now, Daddy. I want a pony now. I want a golden egg now, right?
Day of expectations, and you're entitled to it, right? That's what you feel like you're entitled. That's what we're living in. That's not how we have to live.
So anyways, you know, so give yourself some permission with that. So think about a long-term goal is 5 years. So what I also would like for you to do as a part of your homework for today is kind of on a separate sheet of paper, or maybe at the bottom of your budget form, if you print that out from our website, is what are your goals? Write down what are your goals, and then figure out what's my short-term, medium, long-term goals. And remember, they can change. When you don't achieve a goal, here's my saying for that. You don't change the goal, you just change the date. Like, it's okay if you don't hit it in 6 months. Keep that as a goal. Don't give up on it. Don't throw it out the window with the budget because you got frustrated. Just change the date. Give yourself some grace. Okay. So there's 2 major strategies for paying off debt. We talked about this last week in debt management, and we've talked about it multiple times before. There's the ladder method and the snowball method. So the ladder method is listing all of your debts in order of interest rate. The snowball method is listing them in order of balance, or you could even go with payment size from smallest to largest. Okay. So if you want to find out a little bit more about that, you can go back to debt management. But basically, in a nutshell, you're taking whatever for snowball method is the most popular. So let's use snowball as an example. If I have 3 credit cards I want to pay off, right? Regardless of the balance of them, let's say that my minimum payment is 25, 50, and 75 for the 3 respective ones. Okay. What snowball is saying is take the one that has that smaller payment, which likely has a smaller balance, not always, but usually it does. Whatever you are going to pay additional. So let's say I only have $10 extra a month that I can pay towards my debt. Okay. Every little bit counts, but let's say I only have 10 extra bucks. Instead of paying $25 on that smaller one, I'm going to do 35, and I'm going to keep doing 35 until it's paid off. Okay. Well, then I can work on my next one. My next one, what was my minimum payment on my second one? Do y'all remember? 50, right?
Yeah.
I said 25, 50,
25,
and
50, and 75. That's right.
Yep. So now my second one is $50. That's my minimum payment is $50 a month. So now I'm going to pay my $50 a month, but I'm also going to pay the additional 35 that I was paying on the other one, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm paying $85 a month on a loan or trade line that my minimum is only 50 on until it's paid off. Then I take the 85 that I was paying on that one and I roll it to my next one, which was $75 a month. So 75 plus my 85 until that one's paid off. Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, for some of you, that may take longer than 2 years. It depends on how much money you have. So this budget is going to help you figure out, how do I find that amount of money? Let me go back a couple of slides. 20% of your income on savings and or debt repayment. Most of you can't even think about savings until you've paid off your debt. We're not saying don't save until your debt's repaid, but there are a lot of programs out there and a good rule of thumb that says pay off the debt first, then all your extra income can go towards saving. Definitely create a little emergency fund or a cushion in the event life happens so it doesn't knock you off track. So have some money saved up. You can do a little bit of both. You decide what you're comfortable with. We support you, whatever you decide. Okay. So what we're trying to do is helping you figure out where are you going to get that 20%, right? Here's a couple of tricks for, I wouldn't say tricks, tips for helping you maintain that strength and health. Have a weekly, daily, monthly check-in. Okay. If you live alone or you do your finances on your own, you may have to go in front of the mirror. I mean, or sit down and check in with yourself, check in with your statements, check in with your budget sheet. Take a look, have an honest conversation with yourself. All right. If you share household expenses with a partner, check in with each other. Accountability. Now we know that there are some scenarios and some situations where it is not comfortable and it is not, you're not on the same page. We don't want you to put yourself in harm. We're not asking you to, do something outside of your comfort zone, but sometimes good, healthy discussion is great. And we can help you with that. If you kind of have a divided household in regards to expenses, that's where our counseling services can come in and help kind of play moderator a bit and find out.
That's exactly what you're doing, Kelly, is moderation, so that there's a medium in between.
That's right. So we can help with that if you have a kind of an extreme scenario, as long as both parties are willing and able. Like my husband and I have mentioned it many times on here. My husband and I have different opinions about certain things with our money, but we talk about it. And at the end of the day, whatever we decide to do together, like if the ending goal is X, Y, Z, how we get there doesn't necessarily matter sometimes or matter as much, but we understand there are some severe cases where there might be one person who's really messing up the whole plan for the other person who's being more responsible. And again, you just have to have some tough discussions. And there is a money wise topic that we have called Family Conversations About Money. So we encourage you to go check that out if you need to. Meet with a financial institution representative. I already mentioned that. We have counselors here. Herschel is wonderful at working with members. Kelly and I are actually attaining our certification for counseling. So we're really, really excited to be able to work with people one-on-one as well. So meet with us if you need to. Go to envisioncu.com/counsel. And again, it's COUNSEL. Or discuss personal finance with a financial planner. We're not financial planners or advisors. We're financial counselors in the sense that everything we teach on is kind of what we help facilitate for you. Financial planners can maybe help you a little bit more. Sometimes their services come with a fee, so keep that in mind. Sometimes some of your advisors are free and they only make money when you invest in certain portfolios with them. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Thank you for explaining that, Kelly. That was important.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So remember these three things. There's a lot of strategies for budgeting, but the important thing is that you use one to manage your savings and your spending and your debt repayment. And when approaching your debt repayment, consider a strategy like the ladder method or the snowball method. Again, ladder method was based on interest rate. So you pay off the higher interest rate first because it's more money in your pocket. Eventually, once it's paid for, you'll have a faster win with the snowball method by tackling those smaller debts first, but you'll get a quick win. And that's why a lot of people like that one. Again, go back and watch debt management from last week to hear more. And then speak to someone that you really trust, a family. Family member, a friend, one of us, for support. Keep an open mind and remember that what works for them may not work for you. So be careful. Who you ask. Sometimes it is nice to talk to people about money that you don't know.
Right.
We've had a lot of people confess things to us that their own family does not know about because we are unbiased, right? We don't know them. We're not living with them.
Correct. And no judgment. And no judgment. Not only no judgment, no repeating. You got to understand whenever you enter a counseling or a consultation with one of us as financial first responders, you got to understand that information is confidential. The only time we share information is amongst one another to support the effort that you brought to us, right? But to also share additional insight for skills of us may know a little bit more about than the other. But as far as outside sharing, it'll never be mentioned again. So find confidence. Also find confidence knowing that the financial first responders that you're seeing today on your screen are your partners through and through. Just understand that.
That's right. So I real quick want to show you how to get to, because some of you might go, well, how do I figure out like where is all my money going? Because I mentioned that earlier. How do I find out where everything is going? And real quick, let me just pop this up for you.
And Kelly, while you're looking that up, I just want to share something with everybody.
Okay.
It's important when you're filling out this budget. Budgets get scary to people because they don't want to admit what they're spending money on sometimes.
Right.
It's important when you're filling that budget out, even if it's just for yourself, to be honest with yourself, because that's the only way you're going to make it to that next level. So if you're spending $20 a week at thrift stores, or you're spending $30 a week on your grandkids, put that down.
Yes.
You know, you're spending it. Don't try and cover up what you're spending to yourself because you know you're spending it. So be honest with yourself, put it down on paper. And then we're not telling you not to spend $30 a week on your grandkids. If that's one of your priorities, then you put that down as your priority and that's one of your wants. Make adjustments somewhere else. So don't restrict yourself so much that you feel like it's punishment. It's not punishment. You're doing it for peace of mind. You're doing it because you have a goal in mind and you want to be able to spend some money without having to worry about it or stress about it, and still paying all your bills. So it's like a bonus at the end, but be honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's good, Kelly. Well, and I think too, I think a lot of that honesty also comes with knowing what is a realistic goal. Because I think we have hopes, we have dreams, but then there's like the hardcore like goal actually happening and the steps that it takes to actually accomplish it. And so what we want to do is pull you out of the clouds a bit and help you be realistic in the way that you're setting your goal. Because like oftentimes when I think I've mentioned this before, one of the common things that I hear from people is like they're so worried about their credit score being a certain number, but yet they have this situation over here that needs more attention. or they want something so badly that they don't realize the steps that need to happen in between. Like example, I've had several people who say, I want to have the perfect credit score and I want to be debt free. Okay, well, those are sometimes those might line up together, but eventually, like, first of all, my response to you would be, what is your goal though? Like, what do you need to do in the next 5 years? Well, I want to retire in the next 5 years. Okay, so why does your credit score need to be super high? Or do you plan on buying a house, a second home, a vacation home? Like, why is the credit score so important to you? And usually it's just a status symbol to say, oh, I just want to have it high so I can. It's like, so I want to have an 850 credit score, but you can get excellent promo rate pricing on a, regular A credit is a 730. Okay, you're talking 120 more points. Why is that important to you? Let's focus on what you mentioned. You want to retire in 5 years.
Steps.
Is your house currently paid for? Not yet. Okay, well, let's talk about how do we get that mortgage paid off so you can put more money in your retirement plan and start saving more money so that you can retire by date that you have set. Let's not worry about the credit score over here, because you're going to pay off debt. You're going to pay off your mortgage. It's going to help your credit score go up. So you got to be realistic and honest with yourself about what stage of life are you in.
Yes.
Right. But why are you motivated by certain things? Why do you need that thing to happen? Now, because if you continue to borrow money and you're going to continue to need to extend credit, yes, that's something that needs to be taken into account. And there are other strategies that you could accomplish, maybe both things at the same time. Okay, so real fast, can you guys see the MoneyWise screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you want to explore the budgeting playlist on your own, which has some really cool tools that I want to show you, just go to envisionc.com/moneywise. The budgeting module is here in the building financial capability playlist. And you'll notice, see these little incentives offered here? This is what we're talking about, that $100 gift card. When you complete all of the modules within this one playlist, you're entered to win. There's only 9 in here, and see what Herschel said? Look how short they are. 7 minutes, 5 minutes. I mean, super easy. I'm going to go to creating a budget for you, because this is the one that I was mentioning earlier. There's a section in here. What's breaking my budget? Look at this. This is really cool. So this will help you figure out how could you potentially free up more income from those wants that you're spending money on. This is one example to get you thinking. There could be some other wants out there that you have that you could use as an example. Here's some. Online internet streaming subscriptions. There's like 5,000 of them. There are subscriptions to, purchasing merchandise websites like Amazon, stuff like that. Okay. Are you accounting for that stuff in your budget? If so, is that one thing that you could save some money on? Okay. So let's say that your subscription to something is $8.99 a month. Do the math over the 2-year period, the 24-month period that you have, to see how much you could save. All right. So a lot of people aren't necessarily getting coffee right now because they're still not going into the office, but this is a really good example of, let's say that you did this 5 days a week. Okay. And let's say you ate out 3 days a week for lunch. And well, let's just try those 2 right there. Just those 2. And let's see. It may require me to fill in on some of the other ones.
Yeah, I think it does.
Look, so $41 a week on eating out and coffee, just those 2 things. That's $164 a month if you're doing it 5 and 3 days a week. Look how much this is per year, guys. That's sick. That makes me sick to my stomach. So over a 2-year period, over a short-term goal, you're talking $4,200 that could have gone towards your retirement fund, saving money for college, saving money for a kid's braces, saving money for Christmas, whatever.
Retirement. And the cool thing about it, Kelly, is that once you identify the overspending in some of the areas that you want to reduce in, right? A really cool thing that you guys really don't probably remember is that you have the control of your account as well as your paycheck. So rather than taking that $41 and putting it somewhere else, take that $41 and set up an automatic transfer to put it in your savings account. or set up a distribution from your employer that automatically pulls whatever amount that you're wanting to set up for forward saving. Automatically take it out before you even get your paycheck. Go ahead and transfer that over to a savings account, and it's not even there, right? It's there for you to have access to, but it's not there for you to have immediate access to, for you to be able to utilize back in your budget. So there's a lot of cool things that come from consulting with a financial first responder or a counselor like us, right? So we can give you those tips and things that help set you up for success. And we just want to be a part of that. Kelly, before we move on and I give the floor back over to you, will you please make sure that we recap as to where that budget form is located and found? That is key
Absolutely.
information, please.
So if you go to, well, here, this is our financial advising site. If you just go to envisioncu.com/counsel, COUNSEL, right here, this PDF right here, when you open this up, it goes to the budget worksheet. And once you're done plugging everything in, you can save it. You can even download it now as is, and then plug everything in and then save it. If you do sign up for one-on-one counseling with us, since I'm mentioning it here, you've got to fill out this form for us. But we're super busy people too, but we know that you're really busy, but we want you to first do what is comfortable in your own home and learn how to do the tools before we just start working with you at, unless you are in an extreme financial crisis, counseling isn't necessary, right? So you can do it. You have the tools. Sorry, joys of working downtown. Very loud fire truck.
The noise isn't loud, but the views are awesome.
That's true. We have great views. So, anyways, we hope that you will complete these MoneyWise modules, because that is going to be the first thing that we ask you when you complete this form. Did you complete the MoneyWise modules? Which one did you do? How long have you been using the module? Because we are going to ask that you put some of those tools in place at home before you start doing any one-on-one counseling, because I said it last week, we can cheer you on every day. We can encourage you through workshops and webinars and emails, but the work starts with you. You have to take the steps to help you get to where you need to go. Kelly, I can tell you want to say something.
I do. So I don't know if you said it or not, but how much do we charge for this service?
It's free.
Free.
Absolutely free.
It's free.
Now,
So do your
MoneyWise,
part.
the curriculum MoneyWise, we have
Yes.
invested in for you. We have paid the price for you to be able to go on and access MoneyWise for free. But for our members, yes, it's free. So why wouldn't you use it? It's so cool. Okay. Kelly, you shared final thoughts with us already. Herschel, I think you kind of did. Do you have anything else? Do you guys have anything else you want to add for the group?
Nothing at all, really. I think
All
this was a nice topic to segue into next week and continue to build in those blocks. Kelly, I think you set us up for success the way you built these modules and these webinars into play. And I'm hopeful that a lot of our viewers will continue to return and help build into their capability and financial continuum with us. So yeah, please join us next week. I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yep, join us next week. We'll be talking a little bit more about budgeting, but we're going to talk about really how to make it work. So we're going to talk about more of the fundamental. Yes, it's one thing to set a budget, but how do we really make it work for us? And I think you're going to like what you hear. So we're going to go ahead and give you 18 more minutes of your life, of your 1 hour back to you if you're joining us on your lunch break. And don't forget to sign up for future webinars. If you're watching this on Facebook, sign up for future webinars at envisioncu.com/webinars. And you can go ahead and enroll for the next 6-week series that we have set up for you, and submit your questions and answers in those live webinars that we can address. Share it with a friend, and visit the MoneyWise website that we have so you can be entered to win when you complete those playlists. So thank you for joining us. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Same place, same time.
See you guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.